The quiet chatter of expensive diners was too calm for what was actually happening inside the Gilded Cage restaurant. Something was wrong, the kind of wrong that makes your skin prickle right before everything explodes. Teresa H. Reyes didn't do nicknames, didn't do friendly. She moved fast but smooth through the tables, eyes locked on the four men forcing her friend Jessica toward the back exit. Teresa had been 3 blocks away when Jessica's panicked text came through. "They're taking me. Help." No explanation. No time for questions. Just that sick feeling in her gut that told her she was already too late. She wasn't. The Gilded Cage was the kind of place where Manhattan's rich came to be seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city. White tablecloths so crisp they looked sharp enough to cut. Soft lighting that made everyone look like they belonged in a magazine. The kind of place where nobody expected violence. Perfect place for a kidnapping, actually. Teresa spotted them immediately. Jessica's red dress stood out like blood against the pale interior. 4 men in dark suits surrounded her. 2 in front, 2 behind. Professional. Coordinated. They moved like a unit, steering Jessica through the maze of tables toward a service corridor in the back. Jessica's face was pale, eyes wide with fear. She saw Teresa and something flickered across her expression. Hope, maybe. Or warning. Teresa didn't slow down. She wore cargo pants, a fitted tactical vest, and combat boots. Not exactly restaurant attire, but she'd learned a long time ago that blending in was overrated. Being ready mattered more. "Excuse me," she said, stepping directly into the path of the lead man. He was big. Shaved head, thick neck, the kind of guy who probably thought his size made him intimidating. He looked down at her with obvious irritation. "Move," he said. "No." The word hung in the air between them. Around them, conversations continued. Forks clinked against plates. Someone laughed at a nearby table. Nobody was paying attention yet. The man's hand moved toward his jacket. Teresa saw the bulge there, gun, probably a 9mm based on the shape. "You don't want to do that," Teresa said quietly. "Lady, I don't have time for." She moved. Her left hand shot out, grabbed his wrist before his fingers touched the gun. Her right hand came up fast, palm strike to his nose. Cartilage crunched. Blood sprayed. He staggered back, gasping. The second man lunged at her. Teresa sidestepped, used his momentum against him. She grabbed his arm, twisted hard, and drove her elbow into his temple. He dropped like a sack of rocks. Now people were noticing. Screams started. Chairs scraped against marble as diners scrambled away from the violence. The third man shoved Jessica aside and came at Teresa with a knife. Bad choice. Teresa blocked the blade with her forearm. The tactical vest extended to her wrists for exactly this reason. She trapped his knife hand, stepped in close, and drove her knee into his groin. As he doubled over, she brought her elbow down on the back of his neck. He collapsed. 3 down in maybe 10 seconds. The fourth man was smarter. He'd already drawn his gun, but he was trapped, too many civilians between him and Teresa. He couldn't get a clean shot. Teresa grabbed a wine bottle from the nearest table. Heavy glass, good weight. She threw it hard and fast. It caught him in the face, shattered on impact. He stumbled backward, blood streaming from his forehead. She closed the distance before he could recover. Kicked the gun out of his hand, swept his legs, and put him face down on the marble floor. Her knee pressed into his spine, keeping him pinned. The restaurant was chaos now. People running for the exits. Staff shouting. Someone was crying. Coffee and wine spilled across white tablecloths. One of the unconscious men had knocked over a lamp. Teresa's breathing was steady, controlled. This was what she'd been trained for. "Teresa!" Jessica's voice, shaky but alive. Teresa looked up, found her friend pressed against the wall, staring at the scene with wide eyes. "You okay?" Teresa asked. Jessica nodded, couldn't seem to find words. Movement caught Teresa's attention. A man was rising from a private booth near the windows. He moved calmly, like the violence around him was just mildly interesting rather than shocking. He wore a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than most people's rent. Dark hair styled perfectly. Sharp features. Young, maybe early 30s, but carried himself with the kind of authority that made him seem older. He walked toward Teresa, stepping carefully around the unconscious bodies. His shoes probably cost a fortune. He didn't want blood on them. Teresa stayed where she was, knees still pressing the fourth man into the floor. She watched the man in the cream suit approach, calculating distances, exits, threats. He stopped a few feet away from her. Close enough to talk, far enough to be cautious. Smart. For a long moment, he just studied her. His eyes moved over the scene. 4 trained men taken down in seconds. Then back to Teresa, taking in her tactical gear, her posture, the complete lack of fear in her expression. "Who trained you?" he asked. His voice was quiet, controlled, with just an edge of genuine curiosity. Teresa met his gaze without blinking. She knew what he was really asking. These were his men. This was his operation. And she'd just destroyed it with her bare hands. "Mossad," she said. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Respect. Definitely recalculation. "Mossad," he repeated, like he was testing the word. "That explains the bodies." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Someone had called the cops. Teresa had maybe 2 minutes before this became complicated. The man in the cream suit glanced at his unconscious men, then at Jessica, then back to Teresa. "We need to talk," he said. "About why you kidnapped my friend? About why your friend's brother betrayed me." His expression hardened. "And why you just started a war you don't understand." He gestured to men Teresa hadn't noticed before, back up, watching from the edges of the restaurant. They moved forward, not threatening, just present. "Bring them both," he said. Teresa could fight. Could probably take down another 3 or 4 men before the numbers overwhelmed her. Could grab Jessica and run. But she needed to understand what was happening. Why Jessica had been taken. What this was really about. She stood slowly, releasing the fourth man. He groaned but didn't move. "I'm walking out with Jessica," Teresa said. "Your men can follow. But if anyone touches her again, I'll finish what I started." The man in the cream suit smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "My name is Cassio Russo," he said. "And you just made this very interesting." Cassio's men didn't touch them, but they made it clear where Teresa and Jessica were going. 2 black SUVs waited outside the restaurant, engines running. Police sirens were getting louder. "Get in," one of the men said, opening the rear door. Teresa looked at Jessica. Her friend was shaking, mascara smudged under her eyes. Teresa put a hand on her shoulder. "Stay close to me," Teresa said quietly. "I won't let anything happen to you." Jessica nodded, still too scared to speak. They climbed into the SUV. Cassio slid in beside Teresa, and 2 of his men took the front seats. The second SUV followed behind them as they pulled away from the restaurant. The drive was silent. Teresa watched the city pass by through tinted windows, tracking their route. They headed toward Midtown, then pulled into an underground garage beneath a glass tower. Private entrance. No cameras visible. Cassio had this place locked down tight. They took an elevator to the top floor. The doors opened directly into an office that was bigger than most apartments. One wall was entirely glass, showing Manhattan spread out below like a galaxy of lights. The other walls were dark wood and expensive art. A massive desk sat near the windows, everything on it perfectly organized. This was a man who liked control. "Sit," Cassio said, gesturing to 2 leather chairs facing his desk. Teresa remained standing. "We're not staying long. You'll sit if you want answers." Cassio moved behind his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a thick folder. He dropped it on the desk with a heavy thud. "You wanted to know why I took your friend. It's because of him." He slid a photograph across the desk. Jessica gasped. "Dario," she whispered. Teresa picked up the photo. A man in his late 20s, handsome, professional-looking. Similar features to Jessica, same eyes, same smile. "Your brother," Teresa said. Jessica nodded. "He's a financial consultant. He works with real estate investors, helps them analyze properties." "He wouldn't," her voice broke. "He wouldn't do anything wrong." Your brother, Cassio said coldly, had access to my financial infrastructure. He used that access to sell my operations to the Colombo family. 3 of my men are dead because of the information he gave them. That's impossible, Jessica said. Dario would never. I have proof. Cassio opened the folder and spread documents across the desk. Bank statements showing large transfers. Encrypted messages with dates and times. Meeting records. Photographs of Dario with men Teresa recognized from intelligence briefings. Colombo family soldiers. Jessica stared at the evidence, tears streaming down her face. No, this is wrong. Dario wouldn't. Teresa picked up one of the bank statements. She studied it carefully, then the encrypted messages, then the metadata on the photographs. Something was off. When did you receive this intelligence? Teresa asked. 2 weeks ago, Cassio said. My tech team intercepted the communications. And you verified it how? Cassio's eyes narrowed. What are you asking? I'm asking if you did your homework. Teresa set down the bank statement and picked up one of the encrypted messages. This encryption protocol is 3 years old. Nobody uses it anymore, too easy to crack. If your brother was actually selling secrets to the Colombo family, they'd use current encryption. Maybe they're careless, one of Cassio's men said from behind them. The Colombo family? Teresa turned to look at him. The same family that's run secure operations for 40 years? They're suddenly careless? She turned back to Cassio. And these timestamps. This message was supposedly sent at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. But look at the metadata. It was created at 2:47 a.m., not sent. Someone wrote this message and backdated it. Cassio stood up, came around the desk. He picked up the message, examined it closely. The bank transfers, Teresa continued. They're real transactions, but look at the routing numbers. These accounts bounced through 4 different countries before landing in this account. That's not how someone hides money. That's how someone makes money look hidden. It's theater. You're saying someone framed my brother? Jessica asked, hope creeping into her voice. I'm saying this evidence is too perfect, Teresa said. Real intelligence is messy. It has gaps, contradictions, things that don't quite fit. This, she gestured at the spread of documents. This is someone telling a story. A very convincing story, but still a story. Cassio was quiet for a long moment, studying the documents with new eyes. Teresa could see him thinking, recalculating. If this is a frame, he said slowly, then someone wanted me to kill Dario. Why? That's the question. Teresa pulled out her phone. Jessica, I need Dario's number. Now. Jessica recited it. Teresa dialed. It rang 4 times, then a man's voice answered, breathless and scared. Jessica? Oh my God, are you okay? I got a message that you were. This isn't Jessica, Teresa said. My name is Teresa. I'm a friend. Where are you right now? Who is this? How did you? Dario, listen to me carefully. You're in danger. Men are looking for you. Where are you? I'm at a hotel in Queens. I've been hiding since. His voice dropped to a whisper. Since I found out someone was trying to kill me. I don't know what I did. I don't know why. What hotel? He told her. Stay there. Lock the door. Don't answer for anyone except me or Jessica. We're coming to get you. She hung up and looked at Cassio. Your frame victim is alive and hiding in Queens. Still think he's a traitor. Cassio's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being wrong. But he was smart enough to recognize when new information changed the picture. If he's innocent, Cassio said carefully, then someone played me. Made me look like a fool. Made me target the wrong man. And used your resources to do it, Teresa added. Whoever set this up knew your security protocols, knew how your intelligence network operates, knew exactly what evidence would make you pull the trigger. An inside job, one of Cassio's men said. Or someone with inside knowledge, Teresa corrected. Someone who's done this before. She thought about the encryption protocols, the metadata manipulation, the way the evidence was constructed. It was professional, military-grade tradecraft. And it reminded her of something, someone from her past. Cyprus. The mission that destroyed her career. The handler who disappeared. I need access to your network security logs, Teresa said. Whoever planted this evidence left traces. They always do. Cassio studied her for a long moment. She'd just destroyed 4 of his men, questioned his judgment, and now she was asking for access to his most sensitive systems. Why should I trust you? He asked. Because I just proved your evidence was fake, Teresa said. Because I'm the only one here trained to find digital fingerprints. And because whoever did this to Dario also did something to me 3 years ago in Cyprus. I want them just as badly as you do. Cassio glanced at Jessica, still crying quietly in her chair, then back to Teresa. 48 hours, he said. You have 48 hours to prove Dario is innocent and find who framed him. My men will shadow you. If you run, if this is some elaborate scheme, I will find you. Clear. Crystal. And Teresa? Cassio's voice dropped, dangerous and soft. If you're lying to me, Mossad training won't save you. Teresa met his eyes without flinching. If I'm lying, I'll save you the trouble and kill myself. Deal? Something like respect flickered across Cassio's face. He nodded. Get your brother, he said to Jessica. Bring him somewhere safe. Then we find out who's playing games with my organization. Teresa helped Jessica stand. They headed for the elevator, Cassio's men falling in behind them. As the elevator doors closed, Teresa caught Cassio's reflection in the polished metal. He was standing at his window, looking out over the city, his expression dark with controlled fury. She'd made an enemy tonight. But maybe, just maybe, she'd also made an ally. Now she just had to prove it. The hotel in Queens was the kind of place people went when they needed to disappear. Peeling paint, flickering neon sign, cash-only policy. Dario had chosen well. Teresa knocked on room 314 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The code Jessica had texted him. It's us, Jessica called through the door. Dario, it's me. The door opened a crack, chain still attached. Dario's eye appeared in the gap, red-rimmed and exhausted. When he saw Jessica, he almost collapsed with relief. He unlocked the chain and pulled his sister into a crushing hug. They held each other for a long moment, both crying. Teresa scanned the hallway, noted the positions of Cassio's 2 men at the stairwell, then stepped inside and locked the door. The room was tiny. 1 bed, cheap furniture, a bathroom the size of a closet. Dario's laptop sat open on the desk, surrounded by papers and empty coffee cups. He'd been working on something. Are you okay? Jessica asked, pulling back to look at her brother. I'm alive, Dario said. He looked at Teresa, trying to figure out who she was. You're the one who called? Teresa. I'm a friend of Jessica's. She moved to the window, checked the street below. Clear. And I'm the person keeping you alive right now. I don't understand what's happening, Dario said. He sank onto the bed, looking broken. 2 weeks ago, everything was normal. I was working on a real estate analysis for a client. Then suddenly I'm getting death threats. Men following me. Someone tried to grab me outside my apartment. What client? Teresa asked. Russo Properties. It's a real estate investment firm. They hired me to analyze a portfolio of buildings they were acquiring in Manhattan. Nothing unusual. I've done a dozen projects like it. Teresa pulled the desk chair around and sat facing him. Tell me exactly what you were analyzing. Property values, rental income, operational costs. Standard due diligence stuff. He gestured at his laptop. They gave me access to their financial systems so I could pull the data I needed. What kind of access? Read-only access to their property management database. I could see transaction histories, account numbers, that kind of thing. But I couldn't change anything. Teresa felt something click into place. Did you see anything unusual in those accounts? Dario hesitated. Maybe. There were some offshore accounts linked to the properties. Shell companies, complicated routing. I thought it was just tax optimization stuff. Rich people hiding money, you know? Did you document it? I made notes. Part of my analysis. He grabbed a folder from the desk, handed it to Teresa. It's all here. Every account I found, every transaction that looked weird. Teresa flipped through the documents. Account numbers, transfer records, corporate structures. Dario had accidentally mapped out an entire money laundering network. And he had no idea what he'd found. "This is why they wanted you dead," Teresa said quietly. "Not because you betrayed anyone. Because you stumbled onto something you weren't supposed to see." "What?" "I don't. These offshore accounts aren't Cassio Russo's," Teresa interrupted. "Someone else is using his infrastructure to move money. You found proof of it." Jessica sat beside her brother, took his hand. "Teresa thinks someone framed you. Made it look like you sold information to Cassio's enemies." "But who would do that?" Teresa started pacing. The pieces were coming together, but she didn't like the picture they were forming. "Someone who needed Cassio distracted," she said, thinking out loud. "Someone who wanted him focused on hunting you instead of looking at his own systems. Someone with the skills to fake intelligence reports and plant false evidence." She pulled out her phone and called a number she hadn't used in 3 years. It rang twice before a voice answered. "Well, well," the voice said. Male, amused, with a slight accent she'd never been able to place. "Teresa Reyes. I thought you were dead." "Marcus," Teresa said. "I need a favor. You burned me in Cyprus. Why would I help you?" "Because someone used your encryption protocols to frame an innocent man. That pisses me off. I'm guessing it pisses you off too." Silence on the other end. Marcus Chun was a black market intelligence broker, the kind of guy who sold secrets to anyone with enough money. But he had a code. He didn't like being copied. "What protocols?" Marcus asked. Teresa described the encrypted messages from Cassio's evidence. She heard typing on the other end. "That's 3-year-old tech," Marcus said. "Nobody's used that since." "Since Cyprus," Teresa finished. "Same signature. Same tradecraft. More typing." Then Marcus whistled low. "Oh, this is interesting. Someone's been very busy. I'm seeing similar patterns in 4 other operations across the past 2 years. Always the same MO. Fake intelligence, frame an innocent target, create chaos." "Who?" "I can't see that from here. But I can tell you this. Whoever's doing it has Mossad-level training and access to serious resources. This isn't some freelancer. This is a pro." Teresa's blood ran cold. Mossad training. Cyprus mission. A handler who disappeared. "The banker," she whispered. "What?" "Nothing. Thanks, Marcus." She hung up before he could ask more questions. Jessica and Dario were watching her, confused and scared. Teresa sat back down, her mind racing. 3 years ago, she'd been part of a Mossad operation in Cyprus. The mission was simple: intercept a financial criminal known only as the banker, who was selling intelligence to terrorist organizations. But the intelligence was wrong. The whole operation fell apart. Her team walked into an ambush. 3 agents died. Teresa barely escaped. She was blamed for the failure. Her handler, a man named Cohen, disappeared. The investigation cleared her eventually, but her career was destroyed. She resigned and came to America to start over. But what if Cohen hadn't disappeared? What if he'd become the banker? It made horrible sense. Cohen had the training, the connections, the knowledge. He could fake intelligence in his sleep. And he'd have access to Mossad resources even after going rogue. "Teresa?" Jessica's voice pulled her back to the present. "What's going on?" "I know who framed Dario," Teresa said. "And he's the same person who destroyed my life 3 years ago." She pulled out her phone and called Cassio. He answered on the first ring. "We need to meet," Teresa said. "Now. I know who's behind this." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. This is bigger than Dario, bigger than your organization. We're dealing with a rogue intelligence operative who's been running schemes for years." Silence. "Then, my office. 1 hour. I'm bringing Dario and Jessica. They're not safe anywhere else." "Agreed. My men will escort you." Teresa hung up and looked at Dario and Jessica. "Pack whatever you need. We're leaving." "Where are we going?" Dario asked. "Somewhere safer than here." Teresa checked her weapon, made sure it was loaded. "And then we're going to war." "War with who?" Jessica asked. Teresa thought about Cohen, about Cyprus, about all the lives he'd destroyed in his pursuit of money and power. With a ghost, she said. And I'm going to put him in the ground where he belongs. They grabbed Dario's laptop and papers, left the hotel room. Cassio's men were waiting in the hallway. As they walked to the elevator, Teresa's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hello, Teresa. It's been a long time. Let's talk about Cyprus. See. Her blood turned to ice. Cohen knew she was on to him, which meant he was already moving. The war had just begun. And this time, Teresa wasn't going to lose. Cassio's office felt different this time. The lights were dimmed, the city glowing beyond the windows like a war map. 3 new people stood around his desk, hard-faced men and 1 woman, all wearing the kind of suits that hid weapons well. His inner circle. Teresa walked in with Jessica and Dario. Cassio's men had patted them down in the elevator, professional but thorough. They'd let Teresa keep her phone but took her backup knife. Smart. Sit, Cassio said, but this time it wasn't a command. It was an invitation. Teresa remained standing. So did he. They studied each other across the desk like chess players sizing up an opponent. You said you know who framed us, Cassio said. Teresa pulled out her phone, showed him the text from Cohen. Cassio read it, his expression darkening. Who's C? His real name is David Cohen, former Mossad handler. 3 years ago, he ran an operation in Cyprus that went bad. 3 agents died. I was blamed. Cohen disappeared. Teresa pocketed her phone. I thought he was dead or hiding. Turns out he's been busy. Doing what? Selling chaos. Teresa moved to the window, looked out at the city. Cohen was always brilliant at intelligence work. Reading people, predicting moves, manipulating situations. But he wanted more than a government salary. So he went rogue. One of Cassio's men, the woman, sharp-eyed and skeptical, spoke up. You're saying a former spy is targeting us? Why? Money, Teresa said simply. Cohen, he calls himself the banker now, runs a sophisticated operation. He destabilizes organizations, creates chaos, then swoops into profit from it. He's done it at least 4 times in the past 2 years. Different countries, different targets. Always the same pattern. She turned back to face them. He frames someone inside the organization. Makes it look like betrayal. While everyone's busy hunting the traitor, he's quietly stealing assets, selling information, or positioning himself to take over whatever's valuable. And with us? Cassio asked. Your legitimate financial infrastructure, Teresa said. You've built a clean empire, real estate, private equity, legal investments. That's rare in your world. Cohen wants it. He framed Dario to distract you, planted evidence to make you look weak, and probably has federal investigations ready to launch. Once your empire crumbles, he'll buy the pieces for pennies. Dario spoke up from his chair, voice shaking. The offshore accounts I found, those were his? Money laundering network, Teresa confirmed. He's been using your systems without your knowledge. You find out, you shut him down, he loses millions. So he decided to shut you down first. Cassio's hands curled into fists on the desk. How long has he been in my systems? At least 6 months, maybe longer. He's patient. Careful. That's what makes him dangerous. The room was silent. Teresa could see Cassio thinking, calculating. His people were watching him, waiting for orders. Finally, Cassio looked up at Teresa. You want him dead. I want him destroyed, Teresa corrected. Dead is quick. I want everything he's built burned to ash. I want his money gone, his reputation ruined, his networks exposed. I want him to watch it all crumble before someone finally puts a bullet in him. Revenge. Justice. Cassio smiled, cold and sharp. I like the way you think. He moved around the desk, stood in front of Teresa. They were almost the same height. His dark eyes met hers, and something passed between them. Recognition of equal fury, equal purpose. You need my resources, Cassio said. Money, manpower, connections. Yes. And I need your training. Your knowledge of how Cohen operates. Yes. Then we have a partnership. Cassio extended his hand. Until Cohen is finished. Teresa took it. His grip was strong, steady. Until he's finished. The woman from earlier stepped forward. Boss, this is insane. We don't know her. She could be working with this Cohen guy. If I was working with him, Teresa said calmly, you'd all be dead already. Cohen doesn't do partnerships. He does puppets and corpses. I'm neither. Cassio nodded. Maria, set up a secure workspace. I want everything we have on our financial systems, security logs, anything that might show Cohen's access points. Teresa needs to see all of it. Maria didn't look happy, but she nodded and left. The rest of you, Cassio continued, I want a full audit of our operations. Every account, every transaction, every person with system access. If Cohen has other people inside our organization, I want them found. His people dispersed, leaving just Cassio, Teresa, Jessica, and Dario in the office. What about us? Jessica asked quietly. Cassio looked at her and her brother. You're safer here than anywhere else. I have rooms upstairs. Stay there. Don't leave without an escort. We're prisoners. Dario asked. You're protected, Cassio corrected. Cohen wanted you dead. That means you're valuable to him somehow. Until we figure out why, you stay close. Teresa nodded. It made sense. Cohen didn't do anything without a reason. After Jessica and Dario were escorted upstairs, Cassio poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed one to Teresa. She took it but didn't drink. You're wondering if you can trust me, Cassio said. I'm wondering how far you'll go, Teresa replied. When this gets ugly, and it will, I need to know you won't hesitate. I don't hesitate, Cassio said quietly. Cohen made me look like a fool. Made me almost kill an innocent man. That's not something I forgive. This isn't about honor. This is about survival. Cohen has resources, experience, and a head start. We're playing catch-up. Then we move fast. Cassio drank his whiskey, set the glass down. What's our first move? Teresa pulled up a map on her phone. Cohen's text came from a burner, but I can trace the general area. He's somewhere in the Catskills, probably a secure location. We need to find exactly where. I know people who can help with that. We also need to protect your financial systems. Cohen's already inside them. He'll know we're coming for him, so he'll either try to extract more data or plant bombs. Digital ones that'll destroy everything when we move against him. I have the best cybersecurity team in the city. You had the best, Teresa corrected. Cohen got through them. We need better. Cassio studied her. You have someone in mind? Maybe. Former Mossad tech specialist. Owes me a favor. Teresa finally took a sip of the whiskey. It burned going down, which felt appropriate. But we need to move now. Cohen knows I'm here. He knows we're working together. That message wasn't a threat. It was a countdown. He's giving us time to panic, make mistakes. We won't panic. No, Teresa agreed. We'll hunt. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Cohen. Tick-tock, Teresa. Just like Cyprus. Remember how that ended? See. She showed it to Cassio. His jaw tightened. What happened in Cyprus? He asked. Teresa was quiet for a moment, remembering. The ambush. The gunfire. Her teammates screaming. The smell of blood and smoke. We walked into a trap, she said finally. Cohen fed us bad intelligence. Said our target would be alone, vulnerable. Instead, we found 12 armed men waiting. 3 of my people died in the first 30 seconds. I barely got out. And Cohen disappeared. He set us up, sold our position to the enemy, pocketed the money, and vanished. Everyone assumed he was killed too. But I always wondered. Teresa's hand tightened around her glass. Now I know. Cassio was quiet for a long moment. Then, we're not walking into another trap. No, Teresa agreed. This time, we're setting one. She pulled up a secure app on her phone, started typing. I'm calling in my tech specialist. We're going to find every digital fingerprint Cohen left in your systems. Then we're going to follow them straight back to him. And then, Teresa looked at Cassio, her eyes cold and clear. Then we show him what happens when you cross Mossad and the Russo family at the same time. The tech specialist arrived at midnight. His name was Yakov, a wiry Russian in his 50s with thick glasses and nicotine-stained fingers. He'd worked with Teresa in Mossad before retiring to Brooklyn to fix computers for cash. "You look like hell," he said when he saw Teresa. "You look worse," she replied. "Can you find Cohen's tracks?" Yakov cracked his knuckles. "Give me access and coffee. Lots of coffee." Maria set him up in a conference room with 3 monitors and Casio's entire security system. Yakov worked in silence, fingers flying across keyboards, eyes scanning code that looked like gibberish to everyone else. Teresa watched from the doorway, sipping her own coffee. It was bad coffee, burnt and bitter, but it kept her awake. She hadn't slept in 36 hours. "Found something," Yakov said after an hour. Everyone crowded around his screens. He pointed to lines of code that meant nothing to Teresa. "Cohen created a backdoor into your financial systems 6 months ago. Very clever. It piggybacks on legitimate security updates, so your people never noticed." Yakov pulled up a map with several red dots. "And look, he's been accessing your systems from multiple locations. Coffee shops, libraries, airport Wi-Fi. Always moving. Can you trace him?" Casio asked. "Already did. His main access point is here." Yakov zoomed in on the map. A location in the Catskills, about 2 hours north of the city. Secure facility. Private property. Registered to a shell company. "That's his base," Teresa said. "Probably," Yakov agreed. "But there's more. Look at what he's been doing in your systems." More code appeared on screen. Yakov translated. "He's been moving your money. Small amounts, spread across hundreds of transactions. Nothing big enough to trigger alerts, but over 6 months? He's stolen about $40 million. Casio's face went dark. "Where did it go?" "Offshore accounts. Bounced through 12 different countries. I can trace it, but it'll take time." "We don't have time," Teresa said. She felt it in her gut, that pressure of an approaching deadline. Cohen was moving. He knows we're onto him. He'll either run or attack. We need to move first. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but she knew who it was. "Your friends are very exposed, Teresa. Maybe I should visit them." "See." Ice shot through her veins. She looked at Casio. "Where are Jessica and Dario?" "Upstairs. 10th floor. 2 guards on the door." Teresa was already running. She heard Casio shouting orders behind her, his people mobilizing. She took the stairs, weapon drawn, taking steps 3 at a time. The 10th floor hallway was quiet. Too quiet. Both guards were on the floor, unconscious. Blood pooled under one of them. The door to the guest suite was open. Teresa went in fast and low, sweeping corners. Living room clear. Kitchen clear. Bedroom. The window was shattered. Cold night air poured in. Jessica's scream echoed from outside. Teresa ran to the window. Below, in the alley behind the building, she saw them. 4 men dragging Jessica and Dario toward a black van. Jessica was fighting, screaming. Dario looked dazed, probably drugged. No time to wait for backup. Teresa holstered her weapon and climbed out the window. There was a fire escape 3 feet to the left. She jumped, caught the railing, swung herself onto the metal platform. Then she started dropping, jumping from landing to landing, using the railings to control her fall. She hit the alley 30 seconds later, rolled to absorb the impact, came up running. The men saw her coming. One turned with a gun. Teresa was faster. She closed the distance before he could aim, knocked the gun aside, drove her elbow into his throat. He went down choking. The second man came at her with a knife. Teresa blocked the blade with her forearm, trapped his wrist, broke his elbow with a sharp twist. He screamed. 2 down. 2 more shoving Jessica and Dario into the van. Teresa grabbed the knife from the ground and threw it. It buried itself in the third man's shoulder. He howled, stumbled away from the van. The fourth man pulled a gun and fired. The shot went wide. 2 rushed, 2 panicked. Teresa didn't give him a second chance. She closed in, disarmed him with a joint lock, and put him on the ground with a knee to the face. "Teresa!" Jessica stumbled out of the van, crying and shaking. Get Dario, Teresa ordered. Now. Jessica helped her brother out. He could barely stand. Definitely drugged. The sound of footsteps echoed through the alley. More men coming. Teresa counted at least 6 shadows moving toward them from the street. We need to move, she said. But they were blocked in. Van behind them, men in front, walls on both sides. Then Cassio appeared at the mouth of the alley with 8 of his people, all armed. He saw the situation instantly. Cover them, he shouted. Gunfire erupted. Teresa pulled Jessica and Dario behind the van as bullets sparked off metal and brick. Cassio's people advanced in formation, professional and controlled. They weren't shooting to wound. The attackers broke and ran. 2 didn't make it. Cassio reached Teresa's position. You okay? Fine. Dario's drugged. We need to get him checked out. Cassio's men formed a protective circle around them as they moved back into the building. This time they used the main entrance, not taking any chances. Back in Cassio's office, a doctor examined Dario. Sedative. Strong one, but he'll be fine in a few hours. Jessica sat beside her brother, holding his hand, still crying. Teresa stood at the window, watching the city, her mind working. Cohen's people? Cassio asked quietly, standing beside her. Had to be. 2 coordinated for random kidnappers. Teresa's jaw tightened. He wanted to take them, use them as leverage against us. Or bait for a trap. Maybe both. Teresa looked at Cassio. He's getting desperate. That's good. Desperate men are dangerous. So are angry ones. Teresa turned to face him fully. We can't wait anymore. We need to hit his facility. Tonight. That's insane. We don't have a plan. We don't know his defenses. I know he has our people, Teresa interrupted. I know he's trying to take everything from us. And I know that if we wait, he'll hit us again. Harder. Cassio was quiet, thinking. Finally he nodded. How many men do you need? 10. Best you have. People who can move quiet and shoot straight. You'll have 12. I'm coming with you. Teresa raised an eyebrow. You sure? This isn't a boardroom negotiation. Cohen tried to destroy my organization and kidnap people under my protection. This is personal. Cassio's voice was cold steel. I'm coming. Teresa studied him for a moment, then nodded. Okay, but when we're out there, I'm in command. You follow my orders. No arguments, no ego. Clear. Clear. Good. Teresa pulled up the map on her phone. Yakov, pull up everything you have on Cohen's facility. I want layouts, security systems, patrol patterns if you've got them. Yakov's fingers flew across his keyboard. Images appeared on the office monitors. A large estate surrounded by woods. Main house, guest houses, a garage. Walls, cameras, guards. It's a fortress, Maria said. Fortresses have weaknesses, Teresa replied. We just need to find them. She studied the images, her tactical mind automatically breaking down approaches, choke points, lines of fire. Mossad had trained her for exactly this kind of operation. Here, she said, pointing to a service road on the east side. Less cameras, more tree cover. We go in from this side, take out the guards quietly, get inside the main house. And then? Cassio asked. Then we get Cohen's evidence, clear Dario's name, and destroy everything Cohen's built. Teresa looked at the team gathering around them. Hard faces, ready for violence. After that, we make sure he never hurts anyone again. She didn't say kill him. She didn't need to. Everyone in the room understood. Cassio poured himself another whiskey. When do we leave? Teresa checked her watch. 2 hours. Get your people ready. Weapons, body armor, night vision. We're going in dark. As the team dispersed to prepare, Teresa walked over to Jessica and Dario. Stay here, she told them. Don't open the door for anyone except Maria. We'll be back before sunrise. Jessica grabbed Teresa's hand. Please be careful. Always am, Teresa lied. She headed for the armory to gear up. Tonight, one way or another, this ended. Cohen had taken everything from her once. She wasn't going to let it happen again. The armory was in the basement, behind 3 locked doors and a biometric scanner. Cassio's people took security seriously. Teresa ran her hands over the weapons racks. Pistols, rifles, shotguns, everything clean and well-maintained. She selected a Glock 19, checked the magazine, tested the weight. Perfect. She added 2 spare magazines to her vest. Cassio entered, already dressed in tactical gear. He looked different without the expensive suit. Harder. More dangerous. You've done this before, Teresa observed. I wasn't always a businessman, he said simply. He chose a rifle, something compact and reliable. His movements were efficient, practiced. Teresa filed that information away. Cassio Russo had layers she hadn't seen yet. The rest of the team filtered in. 12 people, including Cassio. Maria was there, her skeptical expression replaced with focused determination. The others Teresa didn't know, but they moved like professionals. Good. Gather around, Teresa said, spreading a map across the table. We have 2 hours to plan this. Let's make them count. She pointed to the facility on the map. Cohen's estate is here. 2-story main house, 2 guest houses, a garage. 8-foot walls, all around with cameras every 20 feet. We're looking at maybe a dozen guards, probably ex-military. How do you know the guard count? One of Cassio's men asked. I don't. But Cohen's paranoid and smart. He'll have enough people to cover all approaches, but not so many they get in each other's way. Teresa traced a line on the map. We'll approach from the east through these woods. Less camera coverage, more natural cover. What about perimeter guards? Maria asked. There will be at least 2 walking the grounds. We take them out quietly before we breach the wall. Teresa looked at Cassio. Your people know how to move silent. They know. Good. Once we're over the wall, we split into 3 teams. Team 1 goes to the main house. That's where Cohen will be. Team 2 secures the guest houses in case he has prisoners or additional security. Team 3 holds the garage and watches our exit route. She looked around the room. I'll lead Team 1 with Cassio. Maria, you take Team 2. Roberto, she pointed to one of the older men. You've got Team 3. Roberto nodded. He had the steady look of someone who'd been in firefights before. Our objective is simple, Teresa continued. Get into Cohen's office, secure his computers and files, and get out. If Cohen's there, we take him alive. I want him to face what he's done. And if he resists, someone asked. Teresa's expression didn't change. Then we adjust. She pulled up photos on a tablet, images Yakov had found from property records and satellite surveillance. The main house has 4 entrances. Front door, back door, side door to the kitchen and basement access. We'll go in through the basement, less likely to be heavily guarded. How do we get past the security system? Maria asked. Yakov's working on that now. He'll kill the cameras and alarms when we're in position. We'll have a 10-minute window before backup systems kick in. That's how long we have to get in, get what we need, and get out. 10 minutes. Not a lot of time. Questions? Teresa asked. What if this is a trap? Maria said. Cohen knows we're coming. He could be waiting with an army. He could be, Teresa agreed. That's why we have an escape plan. If things go bad, we fall back to the east wall, same way we came in. Roberto's team will cover our exit. We don't leave anyone behind. She met each person's eyes. But understand this, Cohen is counting on us being scared. He thinks we'll hesitate, overthink, give him time to move. We're not going to do that. We're going in hard and fast, and we're going to finish this tonight. The room was silent. Then Roberto spoke up. I'm in. Me too, Maria said. One by one, the others nodded. They were committed. Cassio stepped forward. My people are ready. What do you need from me? Leadership, Teresa said. They respect you. When things get chaotic, and they will, I need you to keep them focused. Can you do that? Yes. Good. Teresa checked her watch. We leave in 90 minutes. Get your gear. Say your goodbyes if you need to. Meet at the garage at 0200 hours. The team dispersed. Teresa stayed behind, studying the map, memorizing every detail. She'd learned in Mossad that planning saved lives. The more you knew before you went in, the better your chances of coming out. You've done this a lot, Cassio said. He'd stayed behind too. Too many times. Cyprus was bad. It wasn't a question. Teresa looked up from the map. Cyprus was a nightmare. We went in thinking we had solid intelligence. Turned out Cohen had sold us out before we even left the safe house. My team never had a chance. But you survived. I ran, Teresa said quietly. Left my people behind and ran. That's what I'll always remember. Not the gunfire or the explosions. Just the fact that I ran while they died. Cassio was quiet for a moment. You couldn't have saved them. I should have tried. And you would have died too. For nothing. He moved closer. Survival isn't cowardice, Teresa. It's strategy. You lived so you could fight another day. That's what you're doing now. Teresa wanted to believe that. But 3 years of guilt didn't disappear because someone told you it should. What about you? She asked, changing the subject. You said you weren't always a businessman. What were you before? Cassio smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. My father ran the family operations. Old school stuff, protection, gambling, things that would send you to prison. I was supposed to follow in his footsteps. But I watched him destroy himself trying to hold on to power. Paranoid, violent, alone at the end. So you went legitimate. I went smart, Cassio corrected. Real estate, investments, legal businesses. You can make more money and sleep better at night. But the old world doesn't forget. There are people who still see me as my father's son. Cohen knew that. He knew how to manipulate it. He's good at finding weaknesses. Was good at it, Cassio said firmly. After tonight, he's finished. Teresa hoped he was right. But she'd learned not to underestimate Cohen. He always had another move, another plan. Her phone buzzed. A text from Yakov, security schematics downloaded. I can kill their system remotely. Just give me the signal. She showed Cassio. We're ready. Then let's end this. They walked upstairs together. The team was already gathering, checking weapons, adjusting body armor. Teresa saw determination on their faces, but also fear. Good. Fear kept you sharp. Jessica found Teresa near the elevator. You're really going after him. We don't have a choice. Please bring Cassio back safe. Jessica glanced at him across the room. He acts tough, but he's not invincible. Teresa followed her gaze. Cassio was laughing at something one of his men said, looking relaxed despite what was coming. But Teresa could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hand kept drifting to check his weapon. He was scared too, just hiding it better. I'll bring him back, Teresa promised. She hoped it wasn't a lie. At 0200 hours, they loaded into 3 black SUVs and left the city behind. The roads were empty, street lights giving way to darkness as they headed north into the Catskills. Teresa sat in the lead vehicle, watching the trees blur past the window. Somewhere ahead, Cohen was waiting, either in his fortress or already gone, laughing at them for falling into another trap. But Teresa didn't think he'd run. Cohen liked to win, liked to watch his enemies break. He'd stay to see it happen, which meant tonight, one way or another, this ended. Teresa checked her weapon one more time, felt the weight of it in her hands. She was ready. They all were. The SUVs stopped half a mile from Cohen's estate. They couldn't risk getting closer. The sound would carry in the quiet woods. Teresa stepped out into the cold night air. Her breath misted in front of her face. The team gathered around, silent and focused. This was it. Radio check, Teresa whispered into her comm. 11 voices responded. Everyone was connected. Move out. Stay quiet. Stay together. They moved through the forest like shadows. Teresa led, using night vision goggles to navigate the darkness. Behind her, Cassio and the others followed in a tight formation. No talking. Hand signals only. It took 20 minutes to reach the tree line. Teresa held up a fist. Everyone stopped. She crouched behind a fallen log and surveyed the estate. The walls were exactly where the map said they'd be. Cameras mounted every 20 feet, red lights blinking. 2 guards walked the perimeter with flashlights, bored and routine. They'd done this patrol 100 times before. Tonight would be different. Teresa signaled to Maria. Maria nodded and moved left with her team, circling toward the guest houses. Roberto took his team right, heading for the garage. That left Teresa, Cassio, and 4 others. Teresa watched the guards' pattern. They met at the northeast corner, talked for 30 seconds, then split up again. When they were at their farthest points from each other, she moved. She crossed the open ground fast and silent, reached the wall, pressed herself against it. Cassio came next, then the others. No one made a sound. The first guard approached. Teresa could hear his footsteps, the rustle of his jacket. She waited until he was right beside her position, then moved. She grabbed him from behind, one hand over his mouth, the other arm around his throat. He struggled for 3 seconds, then went limp. She lowered him to the ground quietly. Across the compound, she saw another guard drop. One of Cassio's men had taken out the second one. Teresa pulled out her phone, texted Yakov, "Go." 10 seconds later, the cameras went dark. The red lights stopped blinking. "We're in," Teresa whispered into her calm move. One of Cassio's men produced a collapsible ladder. They scaled the wall quickly, dropped down on the other side. The main house loomed ahead, dark windows, no movement. Too quiet. Teresa didn't like it, but they were committed now. She led them toward the basement entrance, a metal door half hidden by bushes. She tested the handle. Locked. One of the team members pulled out lockpicks. 30 seconds later, the door clicked open. They descended into darkness. Teresa's night vision showed a hallway with concrete walls, pipes running along the ceiling. Service area. The air smelled like mold and old water. They moved through the basement, clearing rooms. Storage. Utilities. A wine cellar. All empty. Then they found the stairs leading up. Teresa held up 3 fingers. On 3, they'd breached the door at the top. 1, 2, 3. The door burst open. They flowed into the first floor, weapons ready. A living room. Expensive furniture, paintings on the walls, everything pristine. But no people. Clear, someone whispered. They moved deeper into the house. Kitchen clear. Dining room clear. Library clear. Where is everyone? Cassio whispered. Teresa's instincts screamed. This was wrong. Cohen wouldn't leave his fortress undefended. Then she heard it, a soft electronic beep. Coming from the 2nd floor. Upstairs, she said. They climbed the grand staircase, weapons tracking every shadow. The beeping got louder. It was coming from a room at the end of the hallway. Teresa approached the door. It was slightly open, light spilling out. She kicked it fully open and went in fast. An office. Massive desk, computer screens everywhere, file cabinets lining the walls. And sitting at the desk, smiling like he'd been expecting them, David Cohen. He looked older than Teresa remembered. Gray at the temples, lines around his eyes. But that smile was the same. Cold. Amused. Teresa, he said pleasantly. Right on time. Don't move, Teresa ordered, weapon aimed at his chest. Cohen raised his hands slowly. I'm not armed. See? Just sitting here, waiting for you. Cassio entered behind Teresa, saw Cohen, and his expression went dark with rage. You, Mr. Russo. Lovely to finally meet in person. Cohen gestured at the screens around him. I've been watching your empire for months. Very impressive. You built something special. You tried to destroy it, Cassio said. I tried to take it, Cohen corrected. There's a difference. But then Teresa got involved, and well, he shrugged. Here we are. Teresa moved closer, keeping her weapon trained on him. Where's your security? Where are your guards? Gone. I sent them home an hour ago. Cohen smiled wider. I wanted us to have privacy for this conversation. There's no conversation, Teresa said. You're coming with us. You're going to answer for Cyprus, for Dario, for everything. Am I? Cohen leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed. And how do you think that works? You'll drag me to the authorities? Tell them what? That a former Mossad handler went rogue? They'll bury it. Classify everything. I'll be in a cell for 6 months, then mysteriously released. He was probably right. Teresa had seen it before. Agencies protected their secrets, even the ugly ones. Or, Cohen continued, you could just shoot me. Simple. Final. But then you'd never find all my files, all my evidence. You'd never fully clear Dario's name or prove I stole from Cassio. You need what's in my systems. Teresa's finger tightened on the trigger. It would be so easy. One shot. Justice for her team, for everyone Cohen had hurt. But he was right. They needed his evidence. Start talking, she said. Give us access to your files. Gladly. Cohen turned to his computer, started typing. I'm not a monster, Teresa. I'm a businessman. I make deals, facilitate transactions. Cyprus was business. This was business. Nothing personal. You killed my team. I gave them bad intel. They made the choice to act on it. Cohen pulled up files on his screen. See, here's everything. Dario's frame job, Cassio's stolen funds, my entire network. It's all here. Teresa moved behind the desk, looked at the screen. It was real gigabytes of data, meticulously organized. Bank records, communications, operational files. Too easy. This is a trap, she said. Of course it is, Cohen replied cheerfully. The beeping she'd heard earlier suddenly got faster. Urgent. Teresa looked around the room, tracking the sound. There, a device mounted behind a file cabinet. Red digital numbers counting down. 547, 546, 545. A bomb, Cohen said helpfully. Small but effective. Enough to destroy this house and everyone in it. It's been counting down since you entered the property. Cassio's weapon came up, aimed at Cohen's head. Turn it off. I can't. It's on a timer. No remote control, no off switch. Very simple, very reliable. Cohen stood up slowly. But I'll make you a deal. Let me walk out of here, and I'll tell you where the override is hidden. Liar, Teresa said. There is no override. Then we all die together. Cohen smiled. Your choice. 458, 457, 456. Teresa's mind raced. 4.5 minutes. Not enough time to defuse it. She wasn't a bomb tech. Not enough time to evacuate and search for an override that probably didn't exist. But maybe enough time for something else. Download the files, she told Cassio. Everything. Now. Cassio pulled out a flash drive, plugged it into Cohen's computer, started copying files. The progress bar crawled across the screen. 22%. 35%. 49%. Cohen watched, still smiling. You won't make it. Shut up, Teresa said. 321, 320. 319. Faster, Cassio muttered. 67%. 73%. 81%. 245, 244. 243. Done, Cassio said, pulling the drive out. Team 2, Team 3, evacuate now, Teresa said into her comm, buildings rigged to blow. Get to the extraction point. Voices responded, confused and urgent. Teresa grabbed Cohen's arm, pulled him toward the door. We're leaving. You're coming with us. Am I? Cohen asked, but he didn't resist. They ran through the house, down the stairs, through the basement, out into the night. Behind them, the timer kept counting. 112, 111, 110. They reached the wall. Maria and Roberto's teams were already over, running for the tree line. Teresa shoved Cohen at 2 of Cassio's men. Get him over. Move. They practically threw Cohen over the wall. Teresa climbed next, Cassio right behind her. 023, 022, 021. They were 30 yards into the woods when the explosion hit. The blast wave knocked Teresa off her feet. Heat washed over her. Trees shook. Birds screamed and scattered. She lay on the ground for a moment, ears ringing, then pushed herself up. Around her, the team was getting to their feet, checking for injuries. The main house was gone, just a burning crater. Flames reached toward the sky. Cohen sat against a tree, hands zip-tied behind him, still smiling. Told you it was effective, he said. Teresa walked over to him, fury boiling in her chest. You could have killed us all. But I didn't. You're welcome. Cassio appeared beside her, holding up the flash drive. We got the files. Everything we need. Teresa looked down at Cohen. Then he's finished. Finally, Cassio said quietly. They hauled Cohen to his feet and marched him toward the vehicles. Behind them, Cohen's empire burned. The drive back to the city was silent except for the hum of the engines. Cohen sat in the back of the lead SUV, hands still zip-tied, squeezed between two of Cassio's largest men. He'd stopped smiling. Teresa sat in the front passenger seat, watching the sky turn from black to deep blue as dawn approached. Her body ached from the explosion, cuts and bruises she hadn't noticed in the moment. But they'd won. The flash drive in Cassio's pocket held everything. Proof of Cohen's crimes, evidence that cleared Dario, records of the stolen money. Everything they needed. What happens to him? Teresa asked quietly, nodding toward Cohen. Cassio stared out the window. Federal agents are already waiting at my building. Anonymous tip about an international criminal. They'll find enough evidence to put him away for life. He'll talk. Make deals. Let him. His network's gone, his money's frozen, his reputation's destroyed. He's finished. Cassio looked at her. That's what you wanted, right? Not just dead. Destroyed. Teresa nodded. It was exactly what she wanted. They reached Manhattan as the sun broke over the horizon, painting the city gold. At Cassio's building, federal agents in dark suits waited in the garage. They took Cohen without questions, loading him into their vehicle like cargo. Cohen looked at Teresa one last time before they closed the door. You think this changes anything? You're still the woman who ran from Cyprus. That'll never change. Teresa met his eyes without flinching. I'm the woman who stopped you. That's what matters. The door slammed shut. The federal vehicle drove away. Gone. Teresa felt something release in her chest, a weight she'd been carrying for 3 years. Cohen was right that she couldn't change the past, but she'd made damn sure he couldn't hurt anyone else. That was enough. Upstairs, Jessica and Dario were waiting in Cassio's office. When they walked in, Jessica ran to her brother, holding him tight. Dario looked better. The sedative had worn off, color returning to his face. Is it over? Jessica asked. It's over, Teresa confirmed. Cohen's in custody. We have evidence that proves Dario's innocent. The federal investigation into Cassio will be dropped. Everything goes back to normal. Jessica started crying again, but this time from relief. Dario just looked exhausted, like he couldn't quite believe it was real. What about us? He asked. Are we safe? You're safe, Cassio said. Cohen's people are scattered. Without him, there's no organization, no threat. You can go home. But Dario shook his head. I don't think I can go back to how things were. After everything that happened. He trailed off. You don't have to, Cassio said. He walked to his desk, pulled out a business card, handed it to Dario. You're good with financial analysis. I could use someone like you, legitimately. Clean work, clean money. If you're interested. Dario stared at the card, then at Cassio. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a future. Take some time, think about it. The offer stands. Jessica hugged her brother again, whispering something Teresa couldn't hear. But she saw the hope on both their faces. They'd survived. They'd get their lives back. That was something. Maria approached Teresa. The team wants to say goodbye. Teresa followed her to the conference room where the rest of the team had gathered. They looked tired, some bandaged, all still running on adrenaline. When Teresa entered, Roberto started clapping. The others joined in. It wasn't loud or showy, just respect, one professional to another. You led us well, Roberto said. Anytime you need backup, you call. I will, Teresa promised. One by one, they filed out until only Maria remained. I was wrong about you, Maria admitted. I thought you were trouble. Turns out you were exactly what we needed. You weren't wrong to be suspicious, Teresa said. Trust should be earned. You earned it. Maria extended her hand. Take care of the boss. He acts tough, but he needs someone who can keep up with him. Teresa shook her hand, understanding what Maria wasn't saying. The team had accepted her. She was one of them now. After Maria left, Teresa found Cassio standing at his office window, looking out at the city. The morning light made everything look clean new. "What now?" she asked, standing beside him. "Now I rebuild," Cassio said. "Cohen's attack damaged my reputation. I need to prove to my partners, my investors, everyone that I'm still solid. That'll take time. And after?" He turned to face her. "That depends. I'm offering you the same thing I offered Dario, a place in my organization. Not as muscle, as a partner, strategic advisor. Use your skills to build something instead of just protecting it." Teresa was quiet. She'd spent 3 years running, taking jobs that kept her moving, never staying anywhere long enough to put down roots. Always alone, always the next mission. But maybe Maria was right. Maybe it was time to stop running. "I'm not easy to work with," Teresa said. "Neither am I. I have enemies. Dangerous ones. Mossad doesn't forget people who leave. I have enemies too. We'll handle them together." Teresa looked out at the city, this place that had almost destroyed her but hadn't. She thought about her team from Cyprus, about all the missions she'd survived, all the battles she'd fought alone. Maybe it was time to fight with someone instead of for someone. "Okay," she said. "I'm in." Cassio smiled, a real smile this time, not the cold mask he wore for business. "Partners. Partners." They shook hands. It felt like a beginning. Later that day, after Jessica and Dario had left, after the team had dispersed, after the federal agents had taken their statements, Teresa found herself back in Cassio's office. Just the two of them, the city glowing below. "You never answered my question," Cassio said. "After the mission, what do you want?" Teresa thought about it. For 3 years, she'd wanted revenge. Then she'd wanted justice. Then survival. But now, "I want the next mission," she said finally. "And the one after that. I want to build something that matters. Something that lasts. With me." She looked at him. This man who'd tried to kill her friend, then became her ally, then her partner. This man who understood power and precision and purpose. "With you," she confirmed. Cassio poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one. They stood at the window together, looking out at their city, their territory, their future. "To new beginnings," Cassio said, raising his glass. "To finishing what we start," Teresa countered. They drank. The whiskey burned, but it felt right. Below them, Manhattan pulsed with life. Millions of people living their stories, fighting their battles, building their futures. And somewhere in that vast city, Teresa Reyes had finally found a place to stop running. She'd found a partner, a purpose, a home. The past would always be there, Cyprus, the losses, the guilt. But for the first time in 3 years, Teresa could see past it. Could see tomorrow and the day after and all the days beyond. She'd survived. And now she was going to build something worth surviving for. The end. Thank you for watching Teresa and Cassio's story. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, if you felt Teresa's pain and celebrated her victory, if you're already imagining what adventures come next, please don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button. It takes 1 second, but means everything to creators like us. Drop a comment below. Tell us, what was your favorite moment? Did the ending satisfy you? Where are you watching from? Share this story. Someone in your life needs to meet Teresa and Cassio. Someone needs a story about second chances, redemption, and refusing to stay down when life knocks you flat. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're just getting started. More stories, more characters, more action coming your way. Here's the truth. Every like, comment, and share tells us you want more. It helps us reach new readers. It keeps these stories alive. So if this story gave you something, entertainment, escape, inspiration, even just an hour away from your own problems, give something back. It's free. It's easy. And it matters more than you know. Comment right now. Where are you reading from? What did you think? We're waiting to hear from you. From all of us who brought you Teresa's story.